More about the politics of confirmation. So the president gets to nominate, but the Senate has to approve or confirm that nomination. Before a nominee goes before the entire 100 senators for an up and down vote, they get interviewed or grilled by the Senate Judiciary Committee. Now, this is an opportunity for the Senate Judiciary Committee to kind of get some airtime and some press. Remember, senators want to get on camera so they get better name recognition, and their constituents think that they're doing something if they see him, hey, that's my senator, he's in the news. So the senators kind of use this opportunity to get long-winded and get some press. Um, the politics of confirmation wasn't that controversial. It was kind of routine until the 1960s. Critics of the selection process or critiques of the selection process came after they started to get televised. Now, the two that I specifically remember getting televised when I was a kid in the 80s was Bork and Thomas. Bork is this guy right here. Clarence Thomas and Bork, these were very lengthy and bitter battles in the Senate Judiciary Committee. A lot of personal issues came to light that might not have been about qualifications or disqualifications of judgeships. In fact, in 1987, Robert Bork testified for 23 hours, and he got very aggressive in the whole questioning process. In fact, Robert Bork, he was a conservative judge. He was a strict constitutionalist. He showed judicial restraint. And the one thing is that people like interest groups were very concerned that he was going to overturn some major pieces of civil rights, civil liberties legislation. So, what happened is that a lot of interest groups like the National Organization for Women, ACLU, the NAACP built a coalition against Robert Bork, and they drove home with lobbying Congress, members of the Senate Judiciary Committee to put him through, rake him through the coals, because they were scared that if he became confirmed, some major issues that they were worried about were going to get overturned that by the court. So that process of building a coalition against a nominee, interest groups doing that, is actually called being borked. So if a nominee gets borked, that means that they're getting a lot of pressure from interest groups or outside groups. Thomas had to testify about sexual harassment allegations that were presented by somebody he used to work for, or that Anita Hill, who used to work for him. I'm sorry. So that he had to go through that. And then George W. Bush, he got a chance to nominate a Supreme Court justice when Sandra Day O'Connor retired. Well, when O'Connor retired, that was one of your women that left, and Bush was under a lot of pressure to put another woman in her place. So he nominated Myers. Myers didn't have any judge, like she had never been a judge, so she didn't have any particular judge qualifications. But Harriet Myers, was his counsel for a long time. I do believe she was his counsel while he was governor of Texas. So she had constitutional knowledge. She had judicial experience. It just wasn't as a judge. There was a lot of pressure about her qualifications as a judge, so she ended up dropping her nomination. It was very dramatic. And George W. Bush just went ahead and appointed another old white dude, Sam Alito. Of course, in divided government, this process is more difficult when the president's party is not in control of Congress. So the president has to appoint an ideological moderate. He can't really appoint somebody that mirrors his ideology exactly, because they probably won't get through. There is still the use of the filibuster for the minority party to delay or stop confirmation vote for Supreme Court justices. The nuclear option, or blowing up the filibuster, only applied to lower court appointments. Okay, so you could still filibuster a Supreme Court justice. Background of the judges. Who are these people? Again, they have experience. You wouldn't get this far without experience, either as constitutional lawyers, law professors, um, judges at the lower court level. Background of judges, the federal courts, they tend to be white males in their 50s or 60s. Partisanship, generally, their party, remember, they can't be an active member of the political party, but their ideology is going to match the president. Only 13 of the 110 Supreme Court justices that have been nominated have crossed ideological standards. So Eisenhower appointed Earl Warren. Earl Warren in let's see, Brown v. Board, 1953 or 1954. I can't remember when Earl Warren was appointed, but he was on the court for the Brown v. Board decision. Earl Warren ended up being the most liberal judge we've had in history, and he was appointed by Eisenhower, a Republican. Eisenhower, by the way, wasn't happy about how liberal he ended up being, but whatever. So presidents want people on the bench who will continue their conservative or liberal legacy at all levels. So what they might do is ideologically court pack. So that means putting as many many justices in the federal court as possible that mirror your ideology. The first guy to try to do this was John Adams when he did the midnight appointments, and he was trying to ideologically pack the court with a bunch of Federalist judges. Then later, FDR tried to do it, and I'll talk about FDR's 9 old men next time. It can backfire. Sometimes a justice who you think you vetted, you've put through a litmus test, somebody that you think is really going to rule in a way that you want them to, can turn on you. So once in office, they can diverge from the president's ideology. Like I said, Ike and Warren. Nixon appointed um, uh, Warren Burger. Jeez. Sorry, guys. Burger. And Burger ended up doing a lot to protect the constitutional rights of the accused. And remember, Republicans don't always like to protect the rights of the accused or people who have committed a crime. They should be punished. Real quick, review of court organization. Remember, federal judges serve for life. Um, What's true? That this is not true. They are not appointed by Congress. They are approved. See, it's a true or false thing. So yes, they serve for life. False. They are not appointed by Congress. False. They are not approved by the president. It's switched. True or false? Interest group lobbyists can meet with a judge to discuss a case. False. They have to file an amicus curiae brief. True or false? They are appointed to serve a term. That's false. True or false? They can only be removed by impeachment. That's true. Cannot be removed from office. That's false, obviously, if 6 is true. Okay, in order to bring a case, you must have a standing to sue. That is true. You can't just sue me because you don't like me. Okay, that's it. Next, look for the Supreme Court case process, the process of hearing a case.